If you have a habit of buying books like these because you want to improve your health, but you're not actually reading them, what you need now is a reading habit. And in this video, I'm going to help you develop exactly that. And we're going to get some help from this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, the instant classic about using habits to transform our lives. In this book, James Clear talks about the 4-step habit loop of cue, craving, response, reward. And there's 4 characteristics or 4 laws of behavior change that correspond to those 4 steps. The behavior to stick has to be obvious, it has to be attractive, it has to be easy, and it has to be satisfying. So if you really want to have a reading habit, you are going to have a reading habit that is obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying for the habit to stick, for you to continue reading day after day, week after week, month after month, and get through all of these really interesting and important books so that you can also start applying what you learn into your life. So how to make a reading habit obvious? James Clear says, among other things, that you need to have implementation intentions that are very clear. I will do X at Y time in Z location. For example, that might be I will read 10 minutes at 4 p.m. at my desk. You can also do what he calls habit stacking. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will read for 10 minutes. He also suggests designing your environment so that the habit is obvious. One of my book club members, for example, was saying that his habit is to put his book and his reading glasses on his pillow so that when he gets to bedtime, it's going to be obvious that the right next thing to do is to read the book. The second law of behavior change, according to James Clear, is that it has to be attractive. For example, he suggests temptation bundling, pairing an action you want to do with an action you need to do. And one example here would be, I am going to be reading a book with my favorite tea. This is my pineapple ginger tea, and I love this. So it brings comfort and joy to do those two things together. Another example would be, I will be taking notes in my favorite notebook with my favorite pen. Clear also recommends joining a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. And that is why, for example, you would want to be part of the Plantwise Book Club. The Plantwise Book Club is a group program that I facilitate where people who care about really good food, about plant-based nutrition, lifestyle medicine, healthy lifestyle, long, healthy, vital lives, that's where we get together to not only read those books, but also talk about how we're going to implement them into our daily lives, into healthy habits that we can sustain for life. That's what the Plantwise Book Club is. If you want to join, there's a link in the description below. And that is the perfect community to join, to have some accountability and motivation to not only read, but also implement those books about plant-based nutrition, healthy habits, and lifestyle medicine in general. The third law of behavior change, according to James Clear, is that it has to be easy in order for the behavior to actually happen. And I will give you an example. His first idea here is to reduce friction, decreasing the number of steps between you and the good habits. So for me, it means that I always have my e-reader in my pocket. I have a bunch of books loaded on this, and at any moment, wherever I am, I have this in my purse. I can just flip it open and keep reading the book I was reading before leaving home. Having a book always handy is really a good way to do that. The second suggestion from James Clear is to prime the environment, prepare your environment to make future actions easier. We can go back to that technique I mentioned earlier of making sure that the reading glasses are with the book so there's not going to be challenges getting started. Another suggestion in the third law of behavior change here is to master the decisive moment. Optimize the small choices that deliver outsized impact. One example here might be, if you often pick up your phone and you like to read ebooks on your phone, but also sometimes find yourself scrolling social media or YouTube, well, you can reconfigure your phone screen so that on your home page, when you turn on your phone, what you see is your reading app, your ebook app. And the YouTube and social media apps are hidden somewhere else. So the obvious choice when you turn on your phone will be to read. It will be the first thing you think about. Clear also suggests using the 2-minute rule. Downscale your habits until they can be done in 2 minutes or less. And for sure, you can start reading in less than 2 minutes if the book is right there and you just have to crack it open and keep reading. Something else I have heard from book club members is listening to an audiobook while going for a walk with their dog. That makes the connection between the behavior and the habit really easy. And also, those who have long driving commutes can also use audiobooks. That's what they're there for. There's no shame in using audiobooks. It counts as reading. The fourth and final law of behavior change is to make it satisfying. And in particular, use reinforcement. Give yourself an immediate reward. Immediate is important when you complete your habit. And a great way to do this is to use a habit tracker where you color one leaf for every day. You just need to do a Google search. There's a bazillion habit trackers that you can download out there. And the act of coloring is such a simple thing, but it makes us so happy. And you can also give yourself a sticker. Stickers are very inexpensive, that you can buy a lot of them at the dollar store. You can buy stickers that you find really cute, and you give yourself a sticker on the calendar for every day that you perform your habit, and it will make you really happy. There's also a habit tracker, for example, in the Coach Me app that I use, and you can tick the box that you've done your reading every day. And seeing your streak accumulate will make you really happy. And by the way, when you are building a streak, do your darnest best to never skip more than one day. It is normal, completely normal, to skip a day once in a while. That is what streak freezes are about in Duolingo, if you've done those. But really, try to avoid going into skipping more than one day. That takes you closer to the danger zone where you might feel that you're falling off the wagon. But the reality is that there's no wagon, there's no horse to fall from. You are the engine. You just need to get back up and keep going. You can also make something you really enjoy contingent upon completing the habit that you're trying to build. So, for example, you're trying to build a reading habit and you really enjoy streaming a specific show, then you can say, I will stream that show after having done 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of reading, whatever works for you. And by the way, it's a really good idea to shrink the habit. If you're just getting started, you haven't read much, if at all, in the last 5 years, and you're just getting started again, don't tell yourself, I'm going to be reading 30 minutes a day. That is not a great idea. The habit should feel like it's doable, like it's satisfying, like you can achieve it, not set you up for failure. So start by tiny bites. The 2-minute rule is excellent, and then you can build from there. If you're already someone who reads a lot, who has a reading habit, and you want to do more, then it's perfectly fine to say that from this point forward, you're going to try to increase your reading habit from 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day. But if you're just getting started, make sure to make the habit really small so you can have that positive reinforcement at the beginning and build from there. Now, if you're trying to build a reading habit, the bonus tip I have for you is to write your commitment in the comments below. Being open, public about it will increase your commitment, your accountability, and make it more likely that you are going to actually do it. Also, you can share on social media, but make sure, again, to keep the habit small, manageable, so that you can put it in place, accumulate small wins, get those rewards, feel good, and keep building from there. I encourage you to read in an engaged way, and for that, you can download the Plantwise Workbook. It's free. I'll put the link in the comments below, and you can start engaging more deeply with everything you read and start designing tiny experiments to not only remember what you've read about, but also put it into practice so it makes a real difference in your everyday life so that those new habits become embodied. And I would love to see you also in the Plantwise Book Club. You can use coupon code YouTube for a discount. This will also be in the description below. I look forward to seeing you soon, and keep on reading, my friends.